full backpack rattles as you sprint through the forest. You've been in this raid for 20 minutes. You actually just survived 2 fights, found incredible loot. Your extraction is only 80 meters away. This is exactly what you came here to do. Then you hear footsteps, not close, but not far, close enough. You stop moving, you crouch, you wait. 5 seconds pass, 10 seconds pass. Your heart starts racing. You begin asking yourself questions. Did they hear me? Should I hide? Should I run? Should I fight? Before you decide though, the enemy pushes. You're now trapped. 30 seconds later, everything you have spent the last 20 minutes earning is gone. Most players think they lost because they got outplayed, but they just didn't. They lost much earlier. The moment they stopped trying to win and started trying not to lose. Welcome back to How Winners Think. This series isn't about aim or builds or finding better loot. It's about understanding the decisions that separate players who consistently extract from players who keep asking themselves, how did I lose that? Today we are talking about fear. Not fear as an emotion, fear as a decision maker. Because fear doesn't just affect how you play, it changes what game you are playing. And once that happens, almost every decision you make becomes worse. Every raid begins with a goal. Extract. Simple, nothing else to think about. Everything you do then should move you closer to that objective. Choosing your route, avoiding unnecessary fights, managing resources, listening, positioning, everything quite honestly just serves one purpose, and that is extraction. But something interesting happens the moment you start finding valuable loot. Your objective quietly changes without you actually even noticing. You're no longer thinking, how do I extract? You're thinking, please don't lose this. Those sound almost identical, but they are not. You see, one is proactive, the other is defensive. One creates movement, the other creates hesitation. The raid hasn't changed, the enemies haven't changed. Only your objective has, and that's where most players lose control. Psychologists tend to call this loss aversion. It's one of the most powerful biases in human decision making. Here's what it truly means though. Losing something hurts more than gaining something feels good. Think about that for a moment. Finding a rare item feels exciting. Losing that exact same item feels devastating. Not equally, but much worse. Your brain treats potential loss like an emergency. It begins protecting what you have. That's useful in real life. It's terrible though in extraction shooters, because now every sound feels bigger, every footstep feels closer, every player feels stronger than they probably are. Fear doesn't improve your awareness, it distorts it. You stop seeing opportunities, you only start seeing threats. That's why really most players freeze, not because they are weak, but because their brain is trying to protect them. The problem is, protection isn't always survival. Sometimes movement is. One of the strangest effects of fear is how small it makes your thinking. Early in the raid, you are reading the terrain, watching angles, listening for audio, planning rotations. Now, you're starting at one doorway, one rock, one sound. Fear narrows your attention. Psychologists call this cognitive narrowing. When you're under stress, the brain stops exploring. It starts locking onto immediate danger. That's why players stop rotating, stop flanking, stop repositioning, stop making creative decisions. Their world quite literally becomes smaller. Ironically, that makes them easier to kill, because predictable players are easy players. Watch experienced extraction players. Notice something. They aren't fearless. They check corners. They slow down. They respect danger. The difference is they never let fear choose for them. Instead of asking, "What if I die?" they ask, "What's my best option?" That's a completely different conversation. One is emotional, the other is strategic. Professionals don't remove emotion, they just replace it with process. Process does sound boring, but process survives pressure. Fear says, hide. Process says, check the angle, move, listen, rotate, extract. One step at a time. That's why experienced players look calm, not because they're fearless, but because they already know what comes next. Here's something I wish more players, to be honest, understood. You're not building one raid, you're building an account. Every successful extraction creates momentum, better gear, better weapons, better crafting, as well as a better future decision making. One unnecessary death destroys momentum, and momentum is incredibly difficult to rebuild. That's why elite players protect it. They are thinking beyond this raid. They are thinking about tomorrow, next week, next month. Average players chase heroic moments. Great players chase consistency. And consistency always wins. I want to give you something practical, something you can use tonight even. The next time your heart starts racing, don't immediately just ask yourself, "What if I lose?" I want you to ask yourself a different question. Has fear changed my objective? Am I still trying to extract? Or am I simply trying not to lose my loot? That one question creates awareness, and awareness breaks panic. The moment you recognize fear, you take away its control. Now you can think again. Now you can make decisions again. That's the difference between reacting and competing. You see, fear is an unavoidable emotion. Every player feels it, even the best of the best. But the difference isn't who experiences fear. The difference is who lets fear rewrite the mission. The raid never asked you to become fearless. No, it asked you to make good decisions again and again and again. That's what winning really looks like. Not one incredible raid, not one unbelievable clutch, just hundreds of ordinary decisions made correctly. Fear will always be there. The question is, will it become your navigator or just another passenger? Before every important decision in a raid, ask yourself 3 questions. 1. What is my objective? 2. Has fear changed that objective? And 3. What decision gives me the highest chance of extracting, not just surviving the next 10 seconds? If you can answer those honestly, you can make much more better decisions than most players ever will. If you remember one thing from this video, make it this: fear doesn't change the raid, it just changes the game that you are playing. The next time you're carrying the best loot you have ever found and your heart starts beating a little faster, just remember, you don't need to become fearless. You just need to make sure fear isn't making your decisions for you. Because the moment you let fear change your objective, you have already started losing. If you enjoyed this episode of How Winners Think, let me know in the comments. What's one raid where fear, not your aim, cost you everything? In the next episode, we're tackling one of the biggest myths in extraction shooters, the myth of safe loot. Because sometimes the safest looking loot is exactly what gets you killed. Until next time, think first.